From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine. I'm Ben Hall. Good show tonight. We are talking about the real estate market in Middle Tennessee, and we're going to give you free advice on your mortgage. There are all kinds of questions now. When do you refinance? Should you refinance? What are the rates? We can answer all that. Free advice. Happy to have with us Harlan Holmes with Farmington Financial. Harlan, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Ben.
And John Blackwell of Blackwell Realty and Auction. John, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Ben, for having us.
So, John, let me start with you. Overall, right now, Middle Tennessee, how is the housing market?
The housing market is fantastic, and I don't believe that's a well-kept secret.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
So, yes, we've been on this 3-year run that's just amazing and growing leaps and bounds, and folks are coming in left and right, and we're kind of seeing the benefit of that for sure.
Is it a bubble? Could we see a bubble like we have? And Nashville didn't have it as badly as other places, but right. I mean, that's the worry. It is growing like crazy.
I was in it in the downturn and before the downturn, and we kind of saw it coming to some degree because the jobs went away, and so real estate follows jobs. And as you know, there's a new announcement every week of 300 new jobs, 400 new jobs. So there's real demand for these houses. You're not seeing investors going out here and buying 4 or 5 houses. First of all, they can't get to them because there's too many people that need them. So there's actually real demand for the houses that are out there. So we really are a tight market, but it's really families moving into these houses instead of investors.
And as far as mortgages, what are you seeing now? I mean, the interest rate, that kind of thing. What are you seeing?
You know, and Ben, to follow up what he said, you know, during the downturn, the part of the problem during the downturn was that it was to qualify was so simple. I don't think we'll ever see that again. I don't think we'll ever see the ease of which you got a mortgage. They've raised credit scores. They've raised requirements. That had a lot to do with the downturn because it was very simple to buy a home.
They were giving mortgages away to everybody.
They were,
yeah.
And that was part of the problem. And when you get a mortgage and have had no sweat equity into it, and you have a problem, it's easier to walk away. I think that's one thing that we really won't see again. Like I said, they've elevated credit scores, they've elevated requirements. I mean, listen, if you've got decent credit and you've got stable income, you can buy a home. I mean, and there's a lot of great plans. There's all kinds of different programs, VA, FHA, conventional, rural development. So I'm with John. I don't think if we do have a downturn, and it's cyclical, everything
Sure.
that we do is cyclical. I don't think it will be as severe, and as like John said, as long as we keep growing as we're growing and we're putting families in homes, I think it's going to continue on a good way. Now, the interest rates, we rode that since 2012, and being in this business for a long time, I was like, wow, I can't wait, and every day I went to work that, okay, rates are going up.
We've been hearing rates are going to go up, and this whole thing is going to slow down for, I think, years now.
We heard it for years, and for one reason or another, the feds kept putting off raising the rate, and the election definitely stirred things up. The rates have gone up. There's a lot of people out there that are a little miffed that they didn't buy or refinance before them, but what you got to understand is we've had historical lows for several years. So with that being said, because of the little bump in interest rates, they're still low. They're still as low as they've been before they really bottomed out in 12 and 13, the last few years. They're as low as they had been years before that. So it's still a great market. There's still great interest rates out there. So our industry is in real good shape right now.
And I said free mortgage advice. I mean, I want people, if they have some question, I mean, call in and ask the question. I mean, when should you refinance? So let's, what level do you think you should refinance? If you got a loan at 6%, I'm just making up numbers here, or 5%, a 30-year loan, is it a good time to refinance, or are there some parameters here?
Ben, it's amazing that there's a stat that I heard not long ago that there are still over 50,000 loans in Middle Tennessee that are over 5.5% interest rate. And whether people can't refinance because of credit problems or job issues, whatever the case is, I have calls every day. I talked to a guy this evening before I came here. He was at 5.25. He was thinking about retirement. He's like, man, I would really like to get on a 15-year. I took him from 5.25 to 3.25. His payment was only $100 more a month, but he dropped 11 years off his mortgage. And you're talking about tangible savings, something you can see. He will save on his loan $150,000 in payment. And I preach that. You know, I do TV on Channel 5, and that's one of the things that I preach is if you have the opportunity to lower your term, it does so many things. It changes up the amortization. People look at their mortgage statement on a 30-year mortgage and they're paying a few dollars a month principal and a ton of interest.
Right.
When you drop that to a 20-year, the average person on a 30-year loan, it takes to year 12 to 15 for their interest and principal to get even.
Right.
On a 20-year loan at today's rates, it takes about 12 payments.
Really?
Not 12 years, but 12 payments. And on a 15-year mortgage, you're automatically paying more principal than interest on the very first payment. In a lot of cases, you got to ask yourself, is it worth us investing $100 a month to save $125,000? Another one of the arguments you get, well, we're not going to be in our house. We're planning on being in our house for 6 or 8 years, and then we're going to get something else. That's fine. That's still a great reason to refinance. The amount of equity you're able to build on a shorter term, it's unbelievable how much more money. A perfect example, I had a guy that I did a refinance for 6 years ago. When he mulled about it, he'd had his house for 4 years.
Right.
He mulled over the possibility his payment was going to be over $250 more a month. He was paying a little extra. He thought about it. He called me back. He called me a couple weeks ago and he said, hey, I just want to let you know that we sold our house and I'm helping them get in a new home now. But he put a pencil to it. He said, if I had not refinanced and gone to a 15-year when we sold our house, we would have walked away with $30,000. Because I went on a 15-year, we walked away with $90,000. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that tells you right there, and that gives you so much more buying power. When you have more equity, you sell your home, you're able to buy more house because you can put more down.
And as far as what you're seeing, John, as far as just the demand out there.
Sure.
I mean, what I'm hearing is, you go to buy a house, and if you're not ready to buy that afternoon, it can be gone.
Absolutely.
And that makes me nervous. Actually, that makes me uncomfortable.
And I'll tell you, it's certain categories. It's not all categories. So it actually breaks down into really the starter homes. And the starter home, when you're paying 3% for money, is a $200,000 house in a lot of ways. And so what happened when these historically low rates went way down, the starter home went from being a $110,000 house to $175,000 to a $200,000 house, and just because of the payments, because everybody's payment conscious. And so the competition, you know, we'll have a sales meeting, we'll have 30 agents sitting there, and all of us have 2 or 3 people approved for $150,000 and below. And it's like, I'd love to have 1,000 houses in that price range. But the problem you've got is a builder cannot build those houses with modern regulation and modern standards and afford the cost that you have to put into the land and build a house that he could make $1 on. Mm-hmm. And so the demand for those is going to continue to be really tight in this market, and I don't think that's something that, you know, we're all going to have to fight through, and it's going to be tough to change.
That gets back to the whole affordable housing thing.
Absolutely.
Which is a huge issue.
Huge issue, and needs to be addressed, and really I think it needs to be addressed on the regulation side, because you can't put all these demands on the developers and them have this cost that they can, and then say, hey, you know, you need to sell these houses and not make any money.
And so, all right, so those are the houses that are really flying off the shelves,
sure.
I guess. You know, those are the houses where you see it that afternoon, somebody's going to put a bid on it that day.
Absolutely.
And so we're talking about those
bids. Yeah, or multiple
bids. We're talking about those starter houses.
If I list a house in that 150 range in a lot of these markets, I just tell people just be gone all weekend. and we're going to look at offers on Monday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you be gone all weekend, and we'll just take
be gone all weekend. You're just
Because they're going to show it all weekend.
They're going to show it all weekend.
Which is amazing. All right, we have to, before we go to break, I mean, you remember a day when that wasn't the case.
Oh, sure. I remember the downturn. I remember my phone went from 200 calls to no calls. You know. So, yeah, I remember it deeply and personally. So
We all felt it.
Right.
All right, it's amazing. All right, we're going to take a break. If you want to call, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Free advice on your mortgage, real estate advice, whatever you want to do. Give us a call. Be back right after this.